I've been using the Beyerdynamic MMX300 Gen 2s for the past 6 months, and I gotta say, it's by far the best headset I've ever used, let alone owned. But contrary to what Beyerdynamic says, I don't consider this to be a gaming headset. Premium, yes, but not a gaming headset. That doesn't mean it's bad in gaming, but we'll get to that. First, a disclaimer, I'm not an audiophile. My HyperX Cloud 2s died after 4 years, and all I did was ask my community what good gaming headsets they recommend. The MMX300s piqued my interest, and I bought one. I'll also be comparing it to some other popular gaming headsets to give you an idea of what it sounds like. Lastly, I used a FiO K3 DAC amp combo to test out the headset for this review, but I'm not going to include any sound samples with a DAC or talking points with it because all it really did was make the MMX300s louder and more bassy. It got stupid loud without distortion, but I didn't notice any difference in sound quality. Okay, the Beyerdynamic MMX300 Gen 2s are Beyerdynamic's wired premium gaming headset. In the box, you get a hard case, a 1.2 meter cable, which can be used for either console, phones, or whatever you want, a 2.5 meter cable with a male audio and microphone end for PC use, a 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch jack adapter in case you need that, and the headphones themselves. They have a circummoral shape and a closed back design, and they feel very sturdy. The cups are made of plastic with a thin rubber feeling layer, and the trim is made of metal. The hinge that holds the ear cups are plastic, with the hook being made of metal, and there's a plastic housing above the hook with some Beyerdynamic branding. Because it's made of mostly plastic, these headphones are extremely light, weighing only 300 grams, about 10% less than Beyerdynamic's claims, which is a pretty significant difference. And because of how light it is, and because they're quite large, this is the most comfortable headset I've ever used. And that's a big deal for me because despite how dense my noggin is, it's pretty sensitive to headsets. And if I have a headset that my head decides isn't good enough, which are most of them, my head gets this sharp pain where the headsets rest, which is my mid-scalp region, and I have to move it back towards my crown. And because the weight of the headset is moved towards the crown, it slides off my head. Not an ideal experience. With the MMX300s, I could put it anywhere I want and I won't get any pain. This is probably helped by the extremely cushiony headband. It's thick and soft, which means that it has a lot of damping, which is great for extremely long headset wearing sessions. Like me, for example, who uses my PC for at least 8 hours a day. The headband is attached with Velcro, so it's removable in case you want to replace it, wash it, or whatever you want to do with it. The Earpads that came with this headset, though, are nowhere near as good as the headband. I can't find them anymore because I forgot where I put them. I probably threw them away, but I definitely didn't forget how it felt. It's made from silky soft velour, but they were thin and had medium firmness, so who cares what the material is? At least I don't care. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't ideal. Now in the picture, they don't look thin. It actually looks pretty thick, and I thought the same until I wore the headset for the first time. Not only were they thin but somewhat firm, but they trapped heat pretty well, so my ears got a little sweaty. If you plan on buying this headset, these Earpads by Dakani Audio are a must. They're made of leather, they're super thick and soft, so not only do they feel like pillows, but they also keep my ears cool. Not once in my 6 months of using these pads have I ever felt like my ears were getting warm. It is a godsend. Adjustability for different head shapes is also something this headset does well. Unlike some other headsets where there's a fragile hinge that can break if you mistreat it, the hook here moves freely in this plastic housing, and the band can arch slightly, so no matter how much twist you need from these ear cups, it should be able to fit in almost anyone's head comfortably. I guess the only thing I don't like is this wire. I can't count how many times I accidentally pulled on it and thought I might have damaged it or ripped it. It survived so far, but keyword, so far. I think this should be a thicker braided cable or just something stronger, but that's my opinion. The microphone can swivel about 340-ish degrees, but according to the manual, you need to be careful with how you turn it. They say you shouldn't turn it with the gooseneck, but I've been turning it from the gooseneck closest to the holder, and so far it's been fine. But just like everything, it's fine until it's not. Both included cables are 5-pole cables and come with a controller that have a volume control wheel, microphone mute and unmute, and a media control / accept phone calls button. Then there's the microphone sound quality. This is how the microphones on the MMX300s sound. It sounds pretty good, but it kind of makes me sound like I have like a nasally congestion sound. It just sounds like I need to constantly blow my nose. But otherwise, sound quality is pretty clear and your teammates won't hate you. It has a pop filter so your P's don't sound like explosions, and it's made of thick foam. Okay, now I want to give you some audio samples. You know, what you're really here for. When I put them on for the first time, I was truly blown away with how good these sounded. Each sound was clearly distinguishable from one another, audio quality was so crisp and clear, and it got very bassy without distortion. Even better, when I used my DAC amp combo to give it more power, not only did it get deafeningly loud, but the bass was so powerful and it still handled it like a champ. No distortion at all. Everything you just heard was recorded straight from the headset's drivers using a Sennheiser Mbeyo smart headset. I didn't just throw an MP3 file into Premiere and adjust it until it sounded like what I heard. This is recorded audio with some post adjustments to get it to sound as close as possible to what I hear. It's not a perfect method though. What you heard won't be exactly how I heard it, but it does give you an idea of how different each headphone sounds when you do a comparison like this. Regardless, I'm going to tell you a little more on what I hear so it can give you the full picture. The Logitech just doesn't sound as good as the Beyerdynamic or the HyperX, at least in my opinion. Both the Beyerdynamic and the HyperX have way more bass and bigger sound stages. The Logitech kind of sounds like the audio is being fed straight to your ear canals through a funnel. It has a very concentrated sound stage, whereas the Beyerdynamic and the HyperX have a big sound stage, sounding like it's coming from all around your ears. But the HyperX still doesn't sound as full as the Beyerdynamic. Whether it's music, talking, movies, or whatever, the HyperX is just missing some of that extra bass and some of that soundstage that the Beyerdynamic has. Though it's much closer in terms of performance to the Beyerdynamic than it is to the Logitech, and at $300 it should be. Another thing about the Logitech is that it sounds pretty flat. Think of it like a car. You just bought a car and it has a bomb sound system. And just like every car, you can adjust your treble, mids, bass, and some even allow you to adjust specific frequencies. But let's just say, for the sake of simplicity, that you can adjust the treble, mids, and bass from -9 to +9 with 0 being the default, aka flat. Think of the Logitech as being in the default setting. If that's the first time you've heard of the sound system in that car, because it's already so good, you think nothing of it. But then you start adjusting the equalizer and realizing that you can make it sound more clear, more full, and bassier, if that's even a word. The HyperX is more like this. It sounds more clear, has more noticeable mids, and a lot more bass than the Logitech. And when you start to switch back and forth between the two, you really notice that the HyperX is in a different league. But then you crank all of the settings. This is the Beyerdynamic. While clarity between the HyperX and Beyerdynamics are similar, the Beyerdynamics have more mid separation and the bass is definitely bassier. Again, without distortion. And in terms of the soundstage part, pretend the Logitech is a base model car where you have 4 total speakers, 1 on each door. The HyperX is the middle trim where it has, say, 8 speakers. The same 4 as a Logitech, except now you have an extra driver in the front driver door and passenger door for dedicated highs and lows, some tweeters, and a pretty good subwoofer. And the Beyerdynamic is the highest trim where it has 14 speakers. 2 drivers on each door, 2 tweeters on the front of the dash, 2 tweeters on the door, 2 above your head near the ear, and still 1 sub, but an even more powerful one. That's the difference we're talking about. Now, the Beyerdynamic might not be perfect for everyone because according to Gaming Audio Guide, there's a treble spike at the 9 kHz frequency and some people might be sensitive to that, but it was perfectly fine to my ears. And yes, I hear you guys saying, what about the Logitech and HyperX's software? You can adjust the equalizer and surround sounds. While it's true that they have software to adjust basic functionality and the Beyerdynamic doesn't, apart from their subscription-based surround sound, which destroyed sound quality, if I went through all that, then this video would be unreasonably long and they still wouldn't be able to provide the same level of detail that the Beyerdynamics does. I've tried. On top of that, they're not as comfortable as the Beyerdynamics. While the ear cups on a Logitech and HyperX are better than the stock Beyerdynamics ear cups, their headbands have either thin cushioning or have limited surface area, the HyperX traps heat to my ears, and they're more dense in terms of weight. Both the Logitech and HyperX weigh more, and because they're smaller, they have a more concentrated weight, kind of like a fat cat when it steps on you with its 4 tiny paws. The Beyerdynamic is the largest headset here, all while weighing at least 10% lighter than the 2 I'm comparing it to. So it's got not just the sound nailed down, But as I already went over, the comfort as well. And it better be this good because at $300, it's not cheap. But even with all this praise, there's a big problem. Remember earlier when I said I don't consider this to be a gaming headset? Weirdly enough, despite this being an outstanding performer in everything so far, in competitive gaming, it's not good despite what Beyerdynamic's claims are. Sound quality isn't the issue. That doesn't change from general use to gaming. The issue is that it has poor positional separation. Unlike every other gaming headset I've used where it makes it easy to tell if an enemy is 45 degrees to my left, 24 degrees to my right, 70 degrees to my right, whatever, with this headset, it's just left or right until the enemy is around 10 to 15 degrees to either direction, then I can narrow down where they're coming from. This causes me to do either some super slow turns to get an accurate read on where the enemy is coming from, or if I'm in a tense situation where the enemy is much closer, I turn one direction super quick, overextend, and turn the opposite direction and repeat until I get it right. Hopefully, I don't need to explain why this is bad. So basically, if you're playing super competitive titles, this is not a good option at all. But I tell you what, if you've never used something this good and you're playing immersive games like Star Citizen, Squad, Hell Let Loose, and anything not competitive, man, do these make you feel like you're there. The immersive feel that these headsets deliver is unreal. If you're interested in checking them out for yourself, I'll leave links in the description for both the headset and the ear cuffs. This is also my first headset review, so if you want to give me some feedback, that'd be nice. Thanks for watching, and have a great day every day. Peace.